Hello YouTube and welcome back to Stevetown. This is episode 5 and as always it's a pleasure to have you here. Once again, thank you so much for all the kind words and support on the last episode. It was actually a little bit of a banger. For whatever reason, YouTube liked that one and it said, "Here people, look at this." And people did look at it and I'm very thankful for that. I do have a couple of little bits of admin before we get started today. First of all, I wanted to say that Kindley, who built the spinning coaster a couple of episodes ago, has just started doing YouTube, got a series called Glen Echo Park. It's highly likely that you've already watched it if you're watching this, but if by some small chance you haven't heard of it, then I strongly recommend that you go and check that out. I will put a link in the description. Kindley is very talented. You know, if you enjoy what I do here, then Kindley's doing it like X levels above everybody else. It's just really good stuff. Definitely recommend going and checking that out. The other thing I just wanted to talk about quickly was that people keep asking me about mods. So yeah, I am using the Invisible Doodads mod and the Realism. I think I've got the V2 version of the Realism mod, which lets you sort of mix and match coaster trains and tracks and unlocks a bunch of track types like launches and things. The Invisible Doodads mod, I don't think it was ever properly released. You can still find it on a couple of Discords. It can be a little bit temperamental and a little bit unstable. It basically just makes a bunch of stuff invisible. So yes, those are the mods that I'm using, and I'm sure I will continue to get questions about that. That basically covers everything I wanted to talk about, I think. Otherwise, let's crack on. So we are going to start here where we finished last time. This gift shop has been just sort of finished off. I hadn't really finished off this end of it before, so now I've created a little side entrance here. And then over here, we've just got a little seating area, and then turning around this way. Ooh, look at that. Ooh. We're going to skirt past this little building on the right here. The reason for that will become clear at a later date. And then next up, we've obviously got the Skyway, or the chairlift, I guess, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it Skyway. It's a chairlift, which I talked about possibly doing in the last episode. And as you can see, I've bloody well gone and done it, haven't I? So yeah, it goes across the lake over there. I'm not going to show you the other end yet. Perhaps in the next episode or the one after that, maybe. We shall see. But yeah, on this side, we've got the station, and I wanted to make sure that it was raised up a little bit not off ground level, but off the base path level here. Because obviously there's an issue of clearance where coming out of the station, it needs to come up and it needs to be well clear of the path by the time it gets up to this first pylon. So I wanted to kind of set it back and raise it up a little bit, and that created the opportunity to have this kind of flower bed on the slope here in front of it. So we've got this kind of flower design with the Skyway spelt out, which you get a lovely view of as you come in on the chairlift. It's a little bit harder to see from ground level exactly what it says, but I think it still works really nicely. It just looks like a nice flower bed from ground level, even if you can't quite read it. And then yeah, the station itself, this cover building here was inspired by I think it was like a mid-century modern building I was looking at on Pinterest maybe, and it was really just this idea of having like a V-shaped support holding up the roof structure, and I just sort of took that and ran with it. And yeah, I think it's just a really nice simple structure. It looks kind of classy. The V-shapes give it just enough kind of visual interest, and it's surrounded by pebbles, which obviously everybody loves. And then the exit from the Skyway just comes down here on this little slope, meets up with the other path, and then opposite the Skyway we've got a coffee shop here called Coffee Union. It just happens to be green and white, and there is a brand of coffee in London, a roastery in London called Union Coffee. So let's pretend that that's what it's a reference to, and that there's nothing else going on here. And then coming back the other way down the path, there was kind of a small challenge here which I created for myself, and this is partly to do with the kind of layout of the entire park really, which is this kind of loop that goes around the lake, which is really good from a layout perspective. It makes laying out the park really easy because everything's just one big loop. There's very little risk of people getting lost, and you create interest by having these little kind of plazas that come off the loop and can then come back onto the loop. So that happens here. Over here, you know, it sort of splits off and meets back up with itself again here, and then the same thing happens with the spinning coaster plaza. It kind of comes off into this little plaza, and then it meets back up with itself again here, and then continues around there. And that's sort of the same thing that's happening all the way around. But it leaves me with one decision to make all the time, really, which is the path going to be next to the water, or is there going to be something between the path and the water? And when it came to placing this big show building here for the dark ride, which we will talk about in a bit, I was just kind of struggling to find a satisfying way to place it into this area. I could have quite easily put it over here. And part of the reason I wanted to have it in this particular angle is because of the way that the sun works in the game. If you place buildings at particular angles, they will never get sunlight on the front of them. So I wanted to place it at this angle. And it just created this slightly odd situation where I needed to have the path S-bending like this. And it kind of happened to just create this fun sort of jank moment here where as you're coming down the path from the Skyway, you're basically just looking at this big this big grey wall, the side of the show building, which is sort of half-heartedly being hidden by some bushes and stuff. But yeah, all you can see really is this big grey wall on the right, and then you get a little glimpse of the building on the left here. So yeah, on the left we've got Cosmic Cows, which is kind of a little mid-century, googie, dinery building with a kind of generic theme park roof. This building is a little bit inspired by something at Dorney Park, but yeah, it's just sort of a dinery building, and I chose Cosmic Cows specifically to go with the theme of the area, which goes along with the dark ride. And these sort of pillars, googie pillars on the front here, are just made of absolutely loads of beams. It's not letting me select it for some reason, but as you can see, the circles are all made of beams, yeah, and then the pillars themselves are made of beams, and that just allows me to have this kind of super thin but still with holes in it. And then at the other side of the little kind of bench area, we've got, I believe this is made by Free the Bear way back in the day. And in my opinion, it's absolutely stood up to the test of time and still looks really good next to all the TMTK and everything that we've got. So I just wanted to get this in there. And then off to the right here, we've just got a little kind of area with a decking and a little kind of lookout binoculars that you often see in these kinds of areas. And I wanted to put this in here specifically to kind of ground this area with the sort of rustic, generic vibes that the rest of the park has. Because I think it's this kind of like having these two things next to each other, which kind of keeps the feeling of the park. It's, as Moomin Little Socks always says, it's about cohesion. And it's just about giving a sense that like this place has existed kind of through multiple eras. So you see these kinds of combinations of styles and building materials, and it's all those things adding together that gives the park its kind of its personality, and it's also kind of part of what makes something a little bit janky as well, I think. So I really wanted to do that over here, and that basically leads us on to talk about this dark ride over here. And to do that, I'm going to be joined by a very special guest, and I'm going to seamlessly transition now into that segment, so let's go. Okay, welcome to Stevetown, SPRidley.
Hello, how are you? Been around?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
That's good to hear. Thank you so much for joining me here in Stevetown, and we've got something quite cool to show everybody today, which is this fun new dark ride called Road Trip Area 51. And actually, before we talk about the dark ride, I am just going to introduce SPRidley a little bit here, just in case anybody somehow doesn't know who he is. SP is a long-time member of the Planet Coaster community. Actually, the creator, I've got this right, haven't I? You are the creator of Street Fox Coffee.
Yeah, the mascot and the logo. I did those for a contest, like on the alpha days when we were using the forums. There was like a contest, and I think it was Street Fox Coffee and Tiki Tiki were the two that were the winners of the contest. And super proud of being in the game, and I hear a lot of people really like the characters. So and some in some ways that shouldn't be said.
Yeah, she's got some fans. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So SP is a very talented creator in multiple ways in the game and outside of the game, and particularly with character work, which is specifically why I came to you for this. Mm-hmm. And a little bit of background on the kind of seed of the idea here was that I was looking at a post on Reddit of a really janky little park that I can't remember the name of, and there was a facade which had this kind of hangar frontage on it that looked a little bit like this.
Oh.
And as soon as I saw that, I had this like neuron fire off in my brain that was like, oh, what about like an Area 51 ghost train with like a hangar on the facade? Because I'd talked a little bit in the previous episode about wanting to have a dark ride of some kind, and I think I knew that I wanted it to be one of these kind of low budget sort of ghost train style dark rides. And so yeah, that all clicked together, and I started working on it, and then it very quickly became evident that I was going to need some help throwing it all together, because it's not my forte doing kind of characters and stuff. So anyway, let's stop gabbering about the ride and actually take a look inside.
Yeah.
So we start off with a little kind of trip down a little road here, and it's sort of set in Area 51 in Nevada. So we've got a couple of little references here. I think this is the name of the road that runs through Area 51 that people like to drive down. And then this is the name of the Air Force Base. I think it's Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada.
I didn't know about this, like letters and stuff when when you send me the file.
Yeah, it's not completely random. It does have some small meaning. And then into the first room. First thing I will say is that I wanted it to have this kind of like super janky. I've got reshade on at the moment. Let me just turn that off so you can see that all the kind of drop ceiling and the curtains and the lighting and everything all the way around the ride is completely kind of exposed, and that was all completely intentional.
Yeah, because you told me when I was making the scenes, you told me those look too good for the ride, you know.
Yeah, specifically wanted it to look a little bit crap. So yeah, this first scene is kind of like you're in the Nevada desert and you're driving down the road, and we've got the kind of UFO hovering above the road here, and our first kind of main character is this cow that you came up with.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about your idea with the cow.
So I think you just told me, okay, we need some like story with aliens or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I asked you, are they the typical gray aliens?
Yeah.
And you were,
The gray man.
The gray man. And I was like, perfect. I think, and you showed me the rooms, I think. You were like, oh, this is scene number 1. I got scene number 2. I also think you got scene number 2 with the
I'll go
sucked
through
you,
here,
sucked you
this
through.
is the abduction scene, yeah.
And I was like, I think I have an idea in my head of something that could happen. I think the only scene that I really had in my head were the spoiler later, right? Where it's the funny scene at the middle of the ride.
Yeah.
And we were, okay. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to work tomorrow on it. So I started making a cow. That's the first thing I made. And I was like, oh, I think we could tell a little story with like the cow going through everything. Like you are following the cow with the car.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And that's what built the whole story. And then we built the scenes with the gray man around the cow, and you are following this cow around all these weird scenes. So the first one, the cow is just, in the first one, the cow is just eating some grass, you know?
Yeah, he's just chilling.
She's just chilling, and it's like there's an ovni in the distance, and that ovni is made by Mineral. So it's made by you, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's like foreboding. Like it's like telling a little story, like the first steps of a story, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how we started doing this. And I started to send the scenes to you, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I have the great, it's like the cow is being sucked up, like you are, and he's just hanging on the cable, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She's not electrocuted, and she just gets inside.
Yeah. So then we've got this kind of you're kind of going through the vortex, being sucked up into the UFO, and the cow's kind of poking through the ceiling.
I made a little bit of like I changed the mouth of the cow. Like the cow has a little bit of facial expressions.
Yeah, you've done an amazing job giving the cow such expression with the relatively kind of rudimentary shape pieces that we've got.
Yeah, before it was a lot harder, but with hydro beams, it was like it's much easier making some details right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because before the smallest piece was the semicircle that I'm using here for the legs, and it's very helpful because it looks like cow legs.
You get the nice hoof effect with this kind of...
But the eyes are impossible to make with the arch shapes.
Yeah.
And you also made some beams, some circle, like circle
I made
beams.
you some small cylinders, yeah.
Yes, and they work great. So thank you very much for that.
No problem. I could tell that you were probably struggling just with squares.
Yeah, so, a little bit pixelated. They were the characters.
Done. So, I mean, this is just a really simple visual effect with these kind of spirals that you get this kind of warping effect as you go down the tunnel. And then we're into the next room.
Yeah.
Which is the kind of classic alien lab room where they are portentously using a disco ray on the cow. It just says disco ray ready, and you won't have heard it yet, but I did put in the soundtrack for a ride. You get a little voice saying disco ray ready, a little robot voice.
Oh my god!
I guess this is the first time we're seeing the aliens as well.
Yes,
they are just super cute, super cute little grey man aliens, and this guy's got a little ray gun.
Ray gun to just you dive, you don't go to the disco ray, so.
Yeah, exactly. And the cow is getting zapped with a disco ray, which does mean the next room, obviously, is a big disco. This was your idea, which I was very much on board with. And as soon as you sent me this file, I placed it down. I was just I was in hysterics, struggling to get it all placed down properly. We've got the little DJ alien.
Yeah,
looking very cool.
Just a lot of neon, so like in the dark, it blinks, so it looks really nice.
It's like a big pop of colour that you get for the first time, really, after it's been relatively subdued. And of course, we've got the cheesy 70s haircuts, disco haircuts, which are really just setting it off. And they're all boogieing and dancing, and you will vaguely be able to hear as the ride comes through. We've got a little bit of custom music that plays when you're in this room.
And you made it yourself, like
I did make it. Yeah,
you sent me the file, and I'm like, wow, this is super cool.
Yeah, I mean, I had to give it something to match the visual work that you'd done on this room.
I do love that one of the aliens, because all the aliens had the same hairstyle at the beginning. Oh, you actually put a dancing one there.
I put another one in this corner because as you were coming around here, I was like, I want something in this corner. And I was like, let's have the one doing the little John Travolta Boogie Nights pose.
I was gonna dress them in white, but I completely forgot. With the white.
I think that would have been really tricky to pull off.
Yeah, it was gonna be a changing color mostly, but I don't know. And I really like that one of the guys looks like a musketeer.
He does a bit, yeah. He's got a bit of a French revolutionary vibe. I based him I was looking at pictures of the Bee Gees, and I was like, I wanted to try and get this sort of permed hair in, but there's only so much you can do with the arch shapes.
Yeah, it's like the circle, like the sphere is so big. Yeah. You cannot do really much with it, apart from a head. Like that's this. Oh, okay, I can do a head, but I need more pieces for everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where everything goes down. And I hope Planet Coaster 2 fixes that with the scale.
Yeah, hopefully the scaling is going to completely change everything. And then the last main scene really is just this kind of, you come crashing back down to Earth through the rotating tube, and annoyingly there isn't a train here. Right, here comes the train.
Oh, here they're coming.
Yeah. So you get a little kind of a drop and a bit of a strobe crashing down to the planet Earth here.
This is nice jank.
Yeah, it's super simple, super jank, but it absolutely does the trick. And then the final scene is this one really makes me laugh as well. The alien is riding the cow, and the cow is waving. They're all smiling.
Everybody's a friend now.
Yeah, exactly.
Except the one with the gun. He's saying you need to wave, or you're going down.
Yeah. Exactly. And that is the end. We get a little home sweet home sign just before you come back out onto the station platform. And that is about the size of it.
That's great. I think it's just lovely. And I don't mean because of my figures, but just because of the whole idea. And when you send me the screenshot with the exterior, right? Like it's the type of hangar, and it's like, oh, this looks so nice. Like this is very realistic of what you will find in such a small park like Steve Town, right?
Yeah, exactly. I definitely knew that I wanted it to be this kind of like Ghost Train style, fairly simple. It's not like a full like Efteling style dark ride experience by any stretch of the imagination. No. It's like super simple.
They put some money, they put some money, and it looks nice enough. I think it will be like one of these cult classics for the park, because people think it's funny,
It's the kind of ride in real life that would almost always be like a walk on.
Yeah, that's true.
But because of the way that Planet Coaster does the ride system, this ride has like got almost perfect prestige score, and as a result, like everybody wants to go on it, and the queue is always full. But I mean, I'm not complaining. It's just it's funny.
Better to have people here in the game then.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, SP, for all your help with this.
No, thanks to you. It's been really a privilege to be part of this project, because I've seen your videos. Like that house that you showed in the last video, that was so freaking nice. Like one of the best buildings I've seen ever done in Blanco.
That's very kind.
It's so realistic and so nice. And I'm like, and you told me, oh, do you want to be part of it? And I'm like, oh, of course. Like you don't need to tell me twice, man. Like I will be there. And I think I've been out of the game like since 2018, because I got real work. Which I don't have now, sadly. But if anyone wants to hire me, I do art. I do 3D models.
Yeah, somebody please hire this man.
But yeah, I've come back to the game, and just as Blanco 2 is being shown, and it was great seeing the whole community again, because everybody came back, right? After that announcement.
Yeah, loads and loads of people coming back, which is really nice to see.
And it was great. And it was such a happy, I'm not in my best moment right now, right? But it was such a happy feeling for me of experiencing again that friendship of the community, right?
Yeah, it's so nice.
But I've been out of the YouTube game and everything, so this is my basically first video in so many years to be in. I don't even know. I'm building my own park, but I don't even know if I will do videos about it in YouTube or something, because it's going slowly. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to finish it before Planet Coaster 2.
That is understandable, because I mean it just takes so bloody long to do anything in this game, doesn't it?
Yes, that's true.
Especially if you want to go into the level of detail that we often do.
I know. I'm just wasting my time right now in a parking lot, and it's like, why I'm doing this with my life?
You're gonna get burnt out on the parking lot before you get anywhere near the actual park.
Yeah.
It's classic. Okay, well, SP, thank you again so much for all your help.
Oh, thanks to you.
And I will catch you soon.
Okay, bye. Everywhere. Bye, everybody.
Okay, and we're back. Wow. Thank you once again to SPRidley so much for all his help on the dark ride. I absolutely knew that he was the person to go to for help with that. He's just so good with character design and storytelling and all that sort of stuff that you really need for a dark ride. And he absolutely nailed it, let's be honest. And I'm so happy with how that came out. I think it's so fun. And it's just the right amount of jank for Steve Town. The last thing really to show you today is just... We've got the swingy claw ride. I can't remember what the real name for this thing is. But yeah, it's just, it's the last little bit of this kind of UFO themed area. We've got the Cosmic Cows, the dark ride, and then this little flat ride here, which is called UFO Chaser. And yeah, you know, it just carries on the theme of like hangars, airport hangars, and kind of Nevada desert vibes, with a little bit of colour chucked in there to give it a bit more of a fun feeling. And yeah, it's super simple. Nothing crazy going on here. Bit of a cattle pen. And yeah, that is basically everything that we've got to look at in this episode. We've got big things coming, let me tell you. We're going to have a returning guest working on something pretty cool in this sort of area here. This is still being worked on and it's looking glorious. I've decided I think we're going to have a Woody that's going to be kind of almost like a terrain coaster. It's going to come through these woods here behind the spinning coaster, starting kind of back here, and it'll come down around this way. And then that's really just going to leave one little area here. I'm currently thinking I'd quite like to put a Eurofighter in that space. And that, I think, is probably going to be it for Steve Town. Once we get there, obviously that's still a few episodes away. But I think in terms of the grand plans, that is currently how they're standing. It's going to be glorious. It's going to be beautiful. And I'm so thankful that you're all here on the journey with me as we discover all that Steve Town has to offer. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, so once again, thank you so much for joining me and all your support. And I will see you next time.